Yo dudes!
Welcome to Curry Basics.
So this is where we take the basic fundamentals of how to make a curry. We're going to make it here in front of you, and this is the final part of our veganuary video series. For those of you doing it veganuary, the whole purpose of this was to teach you the basics of vegan cooking and to kind of break things down and so you understand, based on the veg you have, how to go forth and cook epic food.
So yeah, we've made it so many curries in our day, and we're just going to break it down step by step and talk through each of the fundamentals. Okay, so first step, I've got a pan on a high heat. I always like to use a non-stick pan and a wide bottom one. I find you get much better caramelization, better cooking, and you'll definitely get more flavour into your dish. So I'm starting, I've got a tablespoon and a half of oil into a hot pan.
Any oil of choice. So the basis of any Indian stock, or the base flavour which all other flavours are built on, is typically onion, ginger, garlic and chilli. So I've gone with one red onion, half a thumb-sized piece of ginger, I left the skin on because it was organic, 2 cloves of garlic and half a red chilli. In they go.
And as you may or may not know, with chilies, most of the heat is in the seeds or the white membrane. So if you don't like it hot, just take out the seeds and the white kind of pectin on the inside.
So while Dave's frying that, the next part that we decide in our dish was typically protein. What type of protein do we want to add to this? So normally there's a choice between beans or lentils, or else you have a choice of tempeh or tofu. So in this case, we're going to use both just to really show you what we've done. We've just chosen a can of pinto beans. We drained and rinsed it. Don't worry, the water will evaporate. I'm going to use half a block of tempeh, again just to show you how you would use this. Tempeh, for those of you who don't know, comes from Indonesia. It's kind of like the grizzly cousin of tofu. It's quite meaty, it's got a higher protein content, and it has a really kind of meaty mouthfeel. I'm going to chop this into small bite-sized pieces because, like tofu, it kind of absorbs the flavour of what it's cooked in.
So you tend to chop it much finer when you're chopping tempeh, I always will, because the more surface area in each small little bit, the more flavour you're going to infuse into each little piece.
You see the tempeh is quite grizzly because they take a whole soybean curd that's been partially digested or fermented with a culture, and it goes into the pan.
So there's about 150 grams. Make sure when you're using tin beans just to drain and rinse them, because that's where a lot of the flatulence comes from.
So what we're trying to do here with the tempeh is just to make sure that it starts to brown ever so slightly. So Dave's going to stop stirring it quite as much and just leave it start to develop a little bit of brown. While that's browning, next stage is choose your veg. So choose whatever veg you like, you know, say aubergines. People have a real bad rep about aubergine. What's the story with aubergines, Dave?
A lot of people in my experience don't know how to cook them. They don't cook them well enough. And if they're not cooked well enough, they'll taste rubbery, they'll taste plasticky. They won't taste good. But they're one of my favourite vegetables, they really are. What we've done is we chopped them small into fine little bite-sized pieces, put a little bit of oil on top of them, a pinch of salt, and popped them in the oven. We've baked them for 25 minutes at 180 degrees, along with sweet potato.
And along with cauliflower. They're the 3 veg we chose. Just again to show you can choose a wide array. You can replace with courgettes, with pepper. In essence, you're chopping them finely, you're putting in the oven.
So with this curry, we're using veg that take a lot longer. They need to go in the oven. Aubergine, sweet potato, starchy veg like potatoes, squashes, pumpkins. They'll typically take about 20-25 minutes in the oven or in the pan. Another option, we've got a load of videos, as you may or may not have seen, that are fast cooking curries. And in terms of fast cooking veg, you could use scallions, red peppers, mushrooms, yellow peppers, green beans, courgettes, any of those kind of fast cooking veg. They'll go in the pan now, and they'll literally within 3 minutes they'll be done. You can eat them raw, so they're all good to go.
Okay, just to show you these veg here, we've roasted them for 25 minutes just to show you. So we took a whole head of cauliflower and we roasted it at a high temperature, about 200 degrees. We put a bit of salt and oil, but that charring is such an indication of development and flavour. Other veg, just to show you what other veg we've roasted here, is sweet potato. You want to make sure the sweet potato is soft, just melts in your mouth.
And the aubergine should taste.
Wow. I did put a tiny little bit of tamari in the aubergine. So I'm just going to leave them to the side, just to show you what we cook the rest of our curry. As Dave was mentioned, tempeh has a lovely grizzly texture, and right now, because it's been fried in that kind of oil that's a little bit infused with the onion, garlic, ginger, chili, it's imparted a little bit of flavour, but time to take it to the next level. So we're going to take a little bit of tamari or soya sauce to add that umami note. I'm going to go in with the equivalent of about 2 tablespoons. And you'll see it starting to evaporate there just as it hits the pan, because tamari's water-based.
So the tempeh is going to absorb the tamari, it's going to turn golden brown, and it's going to really give that nice kind of caramelised note to it.
In terms of sauce, you have 3 main choices. In terms of the basis of curry, you can base it on tomatoes, which a lot of Indian cooking is. You can base it on a combination of tomato and coconut milk to create that creamy tomato-like sauce, or you can base it around stock. If you do want to make your stock a little creamy, what we often do is we blend a little bit of nut butter through it, or a little bit of tahini or sunflower seed butter to create a more, what's known as an emulsion. Okay, we're going to base this on veg stock and nut butter just to show you. So I got 800 ml here. I'm going to pour in a little bit just to start with. You'll see it's going to start to evaporate and absorb that lovely, kind of deglaze the pan a little.
In on top of that, we're going to go with 2 tablespoons of almond butter.
If you don't like almond butter, you could use peanut butter, you could use tahini, or you could use sunflower seed butter. Again, what's going to happen is the nut butter is going to break down, it's going to spread its fat, and what's going to happen is the fat in the water is going to create an emulsion.
So a bit like coconut milk, you know the way it's the fat at the top of coconut, this almond butter will melt down and become the real basis of the sauce.
I'm going to leave the stock there. So in terms of seasoning, there's many different options in terms of Indian cooking, and spices typically, you know, India was known for its incredible spices. So you have many different options here. At the most rudimentary or base level, entry level is just go with 2 tablespoons of curry powder. Yeah, very simple. We're going to go a little bit more fancy.
I often do that at home, like it's very simple, easy and democratic.
So we're going to go with a little more just to show you. A curry powder in essence is a blend of many different spices. And we're going to show just how to make your own, very simple. I'm going to go with cumin seed, the whole seed, because this will distribute throughout the dish and it'll add texture. I'm going to go with the equivalent of about a tablespoon. In it goes.
As the stock starts to evaporate, I'm going to continue to add in another little bit.
Other spices, I'm going to go with a nice pinch of clove. Clove is something that many people in the northern hemisphere, we grew up eating clove drops, these sweets that we used to hate.
They were like cough drops.
But it's a wonderful undercarrier of flavour, it really, really is. The aromatic spices which you can go with if you're into, you can go with cardamom, you can go with cinnamon, or I'm going to go with just a little bit of cinnamon, just a little pinch. It's just going to add a nice sweet undertone. Obviously leave it out if you don't want to. Just a little bit, it's just going to add that nice sweetness that you wouldn't otherwise get. And last and final thing, I'm going to put some ground coriander. I'm going to go with a good heaped tablespoon of this.
You won't really need any heat because we've got the chili in it and we've got the garlic in it. I'm going to go in with the rest of the veg stock now. It'll all come right up to the boil. So we're going to add in all this veg just for the fun. You know, we may as well make a decent curry that'll serve a good few people. So we've probably got 2 sweet potatoes. It's probably equivalent to 500 grams.
And the sweet potatoes, what's going to happen is their starch is going to break down and help thicken this sauce. Because you might see, oh, that's a runny sauce. Don't worry. So we've got 1 aubergine and we've about 500 grams of sweet potatoes.
And then we've just got the cauli. We're going to add the cauliflower in as well.
We're going to put 3/4 of the cauliflower in, and we're going to keep a little bit just to decorate everyone else's dish. Just a little bit in the top because it looks so pretty when it's charred and it looks like, oh, I'd love a bit of that. So in goes our cauliflower. And cauliflower is going to be a beautiful, beautiful addition of flavour in here. Okay, last thing before we do anything is just proceed. It's just to season our sauce. So you want to take a spoon?
Yeah.
I'll take a spoon. In essence here, what we're looking for is we're going to try the sauce, and what we're trying to find is a harmony and a balance throughout the flavours. So we're going to taste the sauce. So it definitely needs another little bit of salt. So, okay, so what you're looking for is to achieve, there's 5 different flavour profiles, as I often say. There's sweet, there's bitter, there's salty, there's acidic, and there's umami. So, tasting that there, it needs more salt.
So very good though. It's really tasty.
When seasoning with salt, always start on the lesser side, because if you go with too much, you're going to have to dilute your sauce. So I'm just going to go with about the equivalent of about an extra teaspoon. I'm going to go with a little bit of black pepper. And then we're going to go in with a little bit of acid. So acid you can bring in the form of vinegars, you can bring in the form of lemons. Or
in this context, we've got a lime. I'm going to squeeze in the juice of half a lime.
To wrap it up, we got a nice handful of spinach that's going to go in and wilt down. So add in greens. So what the greens are doing is they're adding nutritional profile, they're adding colour, and as spinach break down, it adds a creamy texture. You could use pak choy, you could use charge, you could use kale. Any type of green that's going to impart more nutritional value and more variety.
It'll also show you colour. It'll give a nice, spinach in particular, it'll give a nice contrast of colour, and it'll wilt down until it's really, it'll taste kind of almost buttery. Yeah, it'll taste almost buttery.
Last and final tip, and often that we say, it's the little things that take a good dish to a great dish. Simple things to garnish.
So I'm going to knock it off the heat now. Curry's done, it's time to serve it.
And you'll see it's reached quite a thick texture already. If it does start to go too thin, just add a little bit more water, and you might have to balance the seasoning by adding a little bit more tamari. I'm going to put in some flaked almonds. Just a little bit throughout the dish. Less is more.
And I'm a great fan in terms of garnish to go with just a pinch of chili flakes. I just find it gives a nice pop of je ne sais quoi in terms of serving.
And last and very final thing is try to go with your herb of choice that you like. So if you're into coriander or cilantro, that's typically used in Indian cooking a lot, or basil or Thai basil, you go with mint or anything like that. It's just going to add, again, a fresh effervescence that you wouldn't otherwise get.
And dudes, there you have it, curry basics. We went through all sorts of different bits there, but that's how we'll break down a curry. Whether we want to shoot a 5 or a 10 minute curry, this one took more like 30 or 40 minutes. It's more elaborate, but there's so many different ways to cut up a curry, and I think once you got the fundamentals, you can do whichever you want.
So it almost has a wonderful creamy like texture. It's amazing. I mean, that's just literally veg stock with a bit of almond butter. Really beautiful. A lot of depth of flavour. Huge amount going on there. That's a delicious, banging, rocking, bells and whistles curry.
Oh, I spilled my jumper. If you're doing Veganuary, congratulations. Really well done to you for taking this step. We've got tons of videos. Our whole channel is vegan. There's so much stuff on it here to support you. Fair play to you. Really congrats. Keep it going. And if we can support you in any way, we're here to serve. So.
Thanks for watching. Send loads of love, and please share this with anyone who needs inspiration.
Cheers!